Welcome to the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent.
Steve, welcome back to the Friday at 4. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing very well, very well. And you, how was your week this week? Good?
Yeah, progress. I
All right.
really like where I'm headed. I got some great ideas. I'm almost getting ready to get finalized with the latest episode of the show for 250 Years of America. And yeah, I'm excited. I like this one. It's gonna be
Good,
good.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big
Yeah.
deal, you know?
Yeah, it's a big deal, right? This is episode 99 of the show, so we're coming up to close to 100 episodes, which is
Wow.
amazing, you
That
know.
is amazing. Wow.
And I think I texted you the other day and said I went back and watched episode one, all of 7 minutes and 6 seconds.
Well, it shows how we've come along. So
We've
yeah,
come a long way.
yeah.
We've come a long way. I watched it and laughed. It was still entertaining. It was good information.
Hmm.
But still, hey, look, just like my show, got to start somewhere, right? It was wild.
Got to
You know?
start somewhere.
Yeah. So let's get this episode going. So we're running out of time here. We're yakking away. Anyway, small businesses thinking small with big ideas, right? What do you think about this?
So, I mean, I love the topic. And even from personal experience, we are taught from when we're young that we should go to school, get an education, and then go work for somebody. And that's what we're taught. And that's what most people do. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's right or wrong, but that's what most people do.
Yeah.
But in my experience, when you work for somebody, especially in the larger companies like I did, there is a lot of people at the bottom and less people as you go up the chain, and there's one person at the top. So, in addition to being told go to work for somebody else, in that is also less and less opportunity.
Right.
So, if you're not taught, your experience is how far can I go? How
Mhm.
big can I go? How big can I grow? And
Right.
you end up working, building the next person up their dream. And they work to build their dream and their dream. And everybody ends up working for the dream of the hotshot at the top who makes all the money and does no work. So
Dog.
that's the thinking small. But again, we're taught to do that.
Yeah.
Now, those who either don't go into the corporate world or leave the corporate world like I did and go out to become an entrepreneur and be your own boss, the mindset either starts small because that's what you're taught in corporate, or even going in, the mindset is I want to open my own business. I have this great idea. I've done the research, but I'm scared
Right.
because I don't have
Mhm.
the experience, the money, the connections, everything else that comes with it. So you start small. So I'll give you the example. When I first started to work way back when, okay, way back when,
Way back in the day.
I was in New York City, all the way downtown near Wall Street. And there was a guy one day showed up on the corner with a hot dog cart, a dirty water hot dog cart. Now in New York City, those are big deals. You can make a fortune of those things.
Yeah.
So this guy shows up and he comes in and he opens up the first day, and the line is around the block. Everybody wants it.
Hmm.
And he only had like 100 hot dogs. Now,
Wow.
during lunch break, you could do 100 hot dogs in like half hour. And when he ran out of hot dogs, everybody on that line was like, what's going on here? And they went somewhere else. Some came back the next day, some never came back because he was thinking small, had no frame of reference, but he didn't know.
Yeah.
So the next day he comes back and he brings, because he didn't learn fast enough, he brought back like 200. And again, he sold out. Then he brought 300 and 400 and 500 in a day. And he's, as fast as he can cook them, he was selling them. So he learned. We saw the guy about a year later, and somebody made a comment to him about, you look like you're really successful. And he goes, yeah, I stopped because of all the feedback that he got. He stopped thinking small. His one cart that he was on, if you understand what I just said, the one cart he was on was doing like 1,000 a day.
Whew.
He also had people working for him. He opened up another 10,
Wow.
and he's getting a piece off each cart.
Each one.
So he started small without the money, without the experience, being scared, rightly so. It's a big investment in time and dollars, but he slowly built. But again, started small. So when you start out in any business, and I know when I did, I went in, I left corporate in 12 and I opened my business in 13, January of 13. I put all the money up. It was 100% my business. But because I didn't have the money or the experience, I made a lot of people 1099s. I had some W-2s, as few as I could, and I did everything else.
Yeah.
Now, yes, I put the money in, but I didn't know how to do all those other things. I didn't know
Yeah.
how to do the HR and the payroll and the sales and the marketing and the advertising. And so I spent a lot of money trying to do it on my own. But by doing that, you can't run your business because you're doing too many other things. So, it's that balance. But again, it's thinking small and not getting bigger.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, when you go in your experience to different locations, because I know you do a lot of different types of businesses.
Yeah.
So when you go into, and just pick one, it doesn't matter which one, have you seen any kind of patterns where people are small? Either they don't want to, don't know enough, don't have money. Is there anything you can, high level, just put your hands around that you see, people tell you as to why they may only have one location, why it's really small when the crowd really means you should make it bigger? Any thoughts from your perspective?
I think you hit it. A lot of people, let's take a good example, a food truck. You start with a food truck, you sell something small, a hot dog, right? We'll just use hot dog for example. And since you already started the hot dog cart, and this is real life story, just not everything's not what it was. You got a food truck and you're good, the food truck's good, the food's good. And I say, really should start a bricks and mortar with this. I think a store would be great. And then, they're kind of like, well, it's a great idea, want to do it. Then fear kicks in, right? The fear of everything. And that's part of thinking small, right?
Mhm.
Is you stay in that little bubble, your little comfort zone, because you got the food truck. Expanding can be a lot. You're taking a lot by expanding, you know. And then they get this wild idea to, okay, well, let's go open up that store. But then you get overwhelmed because, again, you were thinking small from the food truck perspective and not from a bricks and mortar perspective. So then you're overwhelmed by the food truck, the store, food. So now you're scrambling to bring people in to, run the businesses. You got to run the food truck now and you got to run
Mm.
the location. So that can create a problem by, again, not thinking big enough, thinking small. But then sometimes people hold on to, well, I only want to do this part, so I can't give that out.
Mm.
And then they're scrambling, trying to get people to learn how to fix and prepare the food to help expand that business. And therefore, their hours are cut because they're spending days cooking. and then they have to open and sell. So it became a problem, you know. Um, I haven't had a chance to really talk to these folks recently. It's been a while to see how they're doing. I would like to have somebody pop in undercover for me, to see how they're doing and see what the process is, to see how things are going. Because I always had high hopes for them. I always wished them well and wished them luck on their process and what they were doing. But that's a perfect example of, of that thinking small and going big. And myself is perfect with that because when I first started, I only thought small because my very first client when I was doing mystery shopping was a smoothie king. That's how I started. And then when I was going to the chiropractor, I was doing phone calls for the chiropractor. Keep it small, keep it simple. But I learned a lot along the way. So as you learn and you're thinking small, as that process goes along, then you start thinking bigger. Before you know it, I had clients all over the country. I had no idea. I was blown away how I was doing it, but I was by myself and I wasn't overwhelmed. I just made it happen, you know?
Is so, I don't know, give or take 10, 15 years ago, there was a restaurant. Food was phenomenal. The line was out the door waiting to get in. And the seating area was small. And the owner kept saying, I'm keeping it small. People will wait to get in. And they did. And he was that way for a long time. And one day, somebody, I don't know what they said to him, but he finally said, okay. And the store next to him opened up. Whatever was in there went out. So he was allowed to go in. And the landlord broke a hole in the wall so you could walk through. Instead of going outside, you could walk through from one store to the next. So now we had a bigger dining room. And things were good. He was great. He was making a ton of money. And there was still a line around the block, even with the extra dining room. But then came the 87 crash. And people stopped going out for a while. Now we had this extra dining room with no money coming in. So now there is no right or wrong answer. But at some point, do you stay small, even though the conversation here is think small versus think big? But at some point, you really have to think, do you stay small and let people wait because they're waiting and no problem, they're waiting? Or do you expand, take on the extra fixed rent for that extra dining room? And if something happens, you can't fill it. Now you have the expense.
Right.
There is no right or wrong because everybody's different. Everybody's business is different.
Right.
Now, as a suggestion, which he never thought of, because again, his frame of reference was very, very narrow, do you arrange with the landlord that I will take the extra space, maybe on 3-month increments or 6-month increments? So if the economy does take a hit, you only have a couple of months and you can walk away from the extra space. Don't sign like a 5-year lease, sign like a 6-month lease or a 1-year lease. Limit your exposure just in case. So you can think bigger, but still be able to think smaller and retract if you have to.
Right.
And that's what nobody taught him because he didn't know.
I got another pretty good example of this. So back in the 80s, the late 80s, there was a grocery store that I used to work for. It was right next to where I lived. Right, I'd walk out my front door and go in their back door. Well, the road that the grocery store was on had to be dug up and new piping put down, so nobody could get to the grocery store from around the neighborhood. So this caused people to go to other grocery stores for their business, right? So everything was said and done. Well, people already had another grocery store. They weren't coming back like they used to. So their idea, thinking small, thinking big, their idea was, well, let's knock a hole in the wall and put a drive-through in. Now remember, this is early 90s, before the internet, before apps and stuff.
Mm.
You pulled up, you told them what you wanted, they ran and go got it and brought it back to you and paid for it and you moved on. Didn't work out that well because the
Mm.
process just wasn't there. They ended up closing down
Mm.
because he just didn't have, nobody was coming back. They found another alternative, right? And that's a great example of that thinking, right? Thinking small and then thinking big. They thought a little bigger, but they didn't really get a handle on how to bring the customers back. Was it advertising? Did they not want to spend the money to really put themselves out there? You know, I was just a young man. I had no idea about that part of their business. All I know was they closed down because I worked for them for a while. I moved on to something else as I got older. But who knows what that could have become
Right.
if they would have thought bigger, right?
Yeah.
That's a great
There,
example, right?
yeah, it's a great example. I like that. There are people, and I am not one of them, but there are people out there who specialize in things just like this. So they will come into your business and they'll spend some time. This is not a 5-minute discussion. They'll spend some time. They'll look at what you do, what you're selling, your books. They do the whole thing. They analyze the market, the neighborhood. They do all this type of stuff. And then they say to you, either stay where you are because you're in a good spot, your overhead is low, you got enough business, don't get greedy. Or the other side is think big, buy another building, expand next door, expand your product line. But because a lot of people have that small frame of reference, they don't have the knowledge, skills, um, desire, whatever, to go bigger until somebody outside comes in. Now, just full transparency, if you're going to use somebody like that, and again, I don't do that, so don't look to me. But if you do have somebody like that and you do bring them on and you have to pay them, make sure the terms of the agreement are I will pay you X dollars regardless of what you say. So stay or grow. Don't sign the agreement that says, if I grow, I'll give you, you get a piece of what I grow to, because then they're always going to tell you grow because they want more money. So be
More money, right?
careful of it. So, I mean, I know it may sound silly, but be careful of the agreement you sign and how much they're going to get paid. Otherwise, they're going to say you owe me a piece of the bigger business. And that's not really what you had in mind going into this. So
Right.
just word
Yeah.
of caution is cover yourself, which is all I'm
Right.
saying. And again, I don't do that, but just be aware.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of cool you mentioned that because that's a piece of what I do with my assessment. I
Mhm.
look at your business from a whole different perspective, not from your books, because that's not
Right.
something I do.
Yeah.
That's way out of my scope. But what I do does help the books because
Mm.
I can show you how to save some money by looking at, how your business is operating.
Right. But
Yeah.
you're not going in and saying to a company, and I'm just throwing numbers out there. You're not going into a company and saying, it's 250 for me to come in and look at what you got, but it's 500 if you expand. You're not doing that. You're saying it's, again, just throwing numbers out. You're
Yeah, it's
saying it's
totally different. Yeah.
250 regardless
Yeah.
of what you do.
Right.
And that's where I'm saying it's a
Yeah.
fixed price regardless of the outcome,
Yeah.
whatever that
Yeah. No,
price is.
that's yeah, that wouldn't be right. That would be kind of rude to do.
But there are people who
The
do
people that
that.
do it,
And
yeah.
if you're not aware, you can get
Hmm.
taken. That's why I'm
Yeah.
just mentioning it. And again,
Yeah.
I don't do that. I know that's not the model you work with. You have a
Right.
flat fee for whatever that is, and not asking for this purposes of this conversation. But
Yeah.
it's not, you're not going to take somebody a little bit if they do one thing and a lot if they do the other thing. Yeah, to me,
Yeah.
that's underhanded. So just be aware.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. Right. Yeah. So real quick, give us a 5-minute breakdown of how this would tie to your business, T, because this is great for you because if you're thinking small about your financials when you're young and you get older, that small thinking doesn't help because you could have grown so much more if you would have invested
Correct.
X amount as it grows, right?
Correct.
So give us a little example and give us a little bit of how that would work with you.
So there's a whole slew of products that I offer. Okay. And I'm not going to get into each one, but as a general statement, a big portion of what I do is based on your age and your health. So the younger you are, hopefully the healthier you are, the less it costs. And again, I don't set the fees. The fees are set by the companies I work with. So make that clear. I don't set the fees at all. So the older you are, assuming you're still healthy, the cost is still more because of age. And again, company based, not me. Um, Now, the other side to that is if you're going to put money into some, not all, some of the products that I offer, there's a fee. So let's just use the real because it'll make more sense. So you have a house and you want to protect the mortgage. So you need life insurance on you so that God forbid something happens to you, the mortgage gets paid, your family can stay in the house. So let's just say, for example, and again, I'm making these numbers up. You're 30 years old, you're in good health, and let's say it costs you $100 a month. If you're 40, maybe it's $150 a month. If you're 50, maybe it's $200 a month. So as you get older, assuming you're still healthy, the price still goes up. Now, the next piece to that is, let's say you're 30 years old, it's $100 a month, but you want to save some extra money inside that policy. I get paid on that 100. If you put in 150, 500, 1,000, that extra piece builds up savings for your future, but I'm only getting paid on that 100, not on the excess. So that's how, to come back just a little, comes back to me and my business, that the fee is set whether you put in that amount or more. I still get paid on the lower amount. So back to what I said before, I'm not going to charge you if you go this way or you go this way. My fee stays the same. It's the excess that comes back to you, not to me. And that's how it plays into me. Not all products are like that. Some are, you put a lump in and that's where it stays. And that doesn't change anywhere. But just like for the protection, the insurance side, it's what you put in, and that's all I get paid. If you put extra, that's all for you. I don't get anything on that. So that's my salary, my commission for that. That's how it's for me. And frankly, that's the way it should be.
Yeah,
Because
I agree with you. Yeah,
yeah, because the
yeah.
other way is, in that example, if you put in 100, because that's what you have to put in, but you decide to put in 200, why should I get paid on that extra 100? I didn't do anything for it. You're doing that on your own because you want some extra money down the road
Right.
that you're entitled to. It's your money.
It's your money, right?
So why should I get paid? The work I did is only for the 100. I didn't work any extra harder for the 200. So why should I get paid for it?
Right.
That's my opinion. That's
But
my
that's
opinion.
honesty, right, Steve? That's
That
what I
is
love about it.
honesty.
Is that you and I are honest. We're open. We're honest. We tell the truth, and we don't want people to go out there, go around us, thinking they can get something a better deal,
Mhm.
or they hear a better deal with that smaller thinking, not thinking about what you offer and
Right.
what we offer to say, oh, I can just Google my information and get what I need. I don't need Chuck, or I can go to this insurance agent and talk to this guy because Steve doesn't know what he's talking about. He says he's going to charge me this. Well, that's what I love about it. We're honest. We know what we're doing, and we want the best for our potential clients and our clients because that's what we do. You know, we don't want to shortchange anybody. Honesty. You know.
In the end, regardless of what we do for a living, and generic statement, regardless of what we do for a living, we need customers, give them the service, the product they're looking for. They're happy. We make some money. Everybody wins.
Yeah.
But what some people forget is that your reputation is everything. So if I'm working with Chuck and I do the right thing for Chuck, he's going to be happy and he's going to refer me to other people. If I don't do the right thing by Chuck, he may or may not buy. That's his choice. But the negative opinions that are going to circulate, especially now with social media, the negative that's going to circulate is going to come back at me harder and worse than if I did the right thing the first time and everybody was happy. And
Yep.
that's the approach you have to take, regardless of what we do.
I'm glad you circled to that because that pinpoints exactly what I do with my business. I help with that negativity. You know, let's catch it before it starts. There's things I do in my assessment that will keep you from having to get out there and have that negative opinion of your business before it even starts, because you may be truthful, but somebody took it the wrong way. And now they have a negative opinion of you and they just spew all over Google or Yelp or Facebook or wherever they want to spew their hate about the company. And then now you're fighting your way to try to fix that,
Right.
Let's catch it before you have to fix it. That's what I do.
Is always easier, faster, cheaper to do it right the first time. Because and somebody said something recently and it just like oh yeah. And he said something like, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, are you really going to have time to fix it and do it a second time? The answer is you're not. So do it right the first time. Everybody's happy and move on and then help somebody else.
Yeah, so true. One customer at a time, do it right with a smile on your face, do it with integrity, and everything will be good,
Good news travels a lot. Well, no, good news travels fast. Bad news travels faster.
faster.
And it
Yep.
does. It
Yeah.
does.
Yes, it
Again,
does.
especially with social media. You
Yeah.
could be on within 10 seconds. The world knows that, Steve messed up or Chuck messed up or,
Yeah.
not what you want.
And
Not
real
what you want.
quick before we end this podcast, a great example is I saw somebody's business. Somebody had a bad experience, and three people they knew, all three gave that company a bad review about the same thing. So now you
Wow.
got to fix those three problems that could have only been one problem,
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, yeah.
It's important, and this is one of the pieces of added value that you do among many. Find out what people are talking about. If one person says something negative, maybe. But when two, three, four people say the same thing and you don't listen,
Yeah.
how does that expression go? Shame on you.
Shame
Okay.
on you.
Okay.
Right.
But
Yeah.
again, that's one of the many, many things of value that you add is, what are the people saying? What are they really saying? But if
Yeah.
they don't know, they can act. But when
Yeah.
you tell them, now they have a fighting chance.
Yep.
So that's
That's
why
so
what
true.
you do is so important.
So true. I give you a fighting chance. Man. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
And you
we
know
want,
what? The thing that I like is that I'm starting to ask the question of why do people think Google is so, you know, why is Google the answer for everything? It's not, but because they're so big and so powerful, they think they have to do it because of the exposure. And I get it, but let's fix it before it becomes a problem with Google, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They do Google because it's the 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah.
They use Microsoft or Apple because they're the two 800-pound gorillas. But
Yeah.
there are options. There's more
Yeah.
than one, web browser. There's more than one car manufacturer because everybody has different tastes, different budgets, different needs.
Yep.
Do what's best for you.
And I love what I do because there's things that Google cannot do that I do. And that's why I love what I do.
Yep.
Google can't do what I do.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Steve, what a great podcast. Again, right? Like another episode where we could talk hours, and next episode on the same thing.
Yeah.
There's so much more to add to this because we really didn't get a chance to dive into a lot of how that thinking can change, right? How the small thinking can change to the big thinking, how it can really change your business. I think we should continue this topic because I know there's so much more we could say on the processes of what we can do to make our businesses better. Because I know you have these experiences, like I've had them over 1,000,000 times in the past year, of just thinking different can get you where you have to go in that process. And I really feel that if people change their thought process, they can really grow their business. They really can.
I agree.
I
agree.
Yeah. So, yeah. So anyway, great podcast. Thanks for coming on again. It's like time flies,
It does. It really does.
It's amazing we get to these topics. I think I told you, I think our first episode was 7 minutes and 6 seconds. And now we're on 37, 38 minutes with these things, 40 minutes. And we're just making them go.
It is good stuff. Good stuff. I love
It
it. I love
is.
these conversations. They're good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I hope everybody gets some kind of value out of what we talk about, and
Right.
if you have anything to say about it, comment, let us know what you think about our topics, and give us something that you like for the next future one, So, yeah. Anyway.
All right. Sounds
good. Got
good.
to be here on this Friday at 4 because
it's 4:00 somewhere.
4:00 somewhere. Steve, what a great episode again, man. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for talking.
You as well.
I love this show. And can't wait to have some guests come on. We should have a guest coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
So working on get some guests come on the show again. So I'm looking forward to have some other people giving us some of their opinion on their conversations.
Yeah. If you want to come on, just let us know and you can be a guest.
Yeah.
That's it. It's real simple.
516-727-2294. Reach out to Steve.
And reach out to Chuck at 410-935-6132.
Absolutely. Steve, have a great rest of the day, man. Have a great weekend. And we'll talk soon.
You got it. Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
See you, buddy. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
See you.
You've been watching the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent. Thanks for watching.